Hey guys, welcome back to Ashar Books. Today I'm here to do my August part 2 wrap up. So all the books I read for the second half of the month. Second half of the month, I definitely started to come out of my slump a little bit, and I felt like I was just really enjoying what I was reading a little bit more. So let's talk about the books. So a lot of the books I actually don't have a physical copy of because they were either ebooks or audiobooks. So I will make sure to link or at least type out all the names and authors of the books down below in case you're interested in them. So the first book I read for the second half of the month was To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jeaniene, because I fell victim to watching the movie on Netflix, and it was absolutely adorable and just so cute, and I absolutely loved it. I've watched it like 4 times now. And so I had to pick up the book, and I have to admit that my best friend has been telling me to read this book series for years. Just years. And I just never got around to it. I never picked it up. So she was right. It was great. So I read the first book, and I'm sure most of you know what this is about, but basically it's about a girl in high school who writes all these letters to any boy she's ever loved, and they get sent out, and it just kind of goes from there. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So the second book I read was P.S. I Still Love You by Jeaniene. I also gave that one 5 out of 5 stars. If you're like me and you haven't read this series, I don't read that much YA anymore. I still like YA, like more fantasy stuff, but I don't read as much contemporary. But if you're like me and you've kind of been like, meh, I don't know, definitely go pick it up. It was really good on audiobook too. You will not regret it because they're the cutest characters, and it really makes me kind of think about giving YA contemporary maybe a little bit more credit, and maybe I should try more of them. So the book I read was Echoes of Evil by Heather Graham. So this is the book I'm actually going to be talking about in an upcoming video with Read Bliss. So I will kind of keep it brief here, but be on the lookout over there on the Read Bliss channel for a video about all kinds of romantic suspense. But this one, Echoes of Evil by Heather Graham, was really, really fun. So basically it's part of her Crew of Hunters series, and I'm definitely gonna go back and read some of those because I really enjoyed the writing and just kind of the atmosphere that she created. It has a little twist of paranormal to it, which I really found fun. Basically this takes place in Key West, and our main character, female character Cody, runs this museum called the History and Haunts Museum, and she's a local. And then our main male character, I believe his name was it Brody? Really should write these things down. I think it was Brody, but anyways, he was on vacation to Key West, but he was a private investigator, and it starts off with him being on this dive down to this sunken ship that is from the 1800s. It was a sunken slave ship, and they find this body, but it's not a body from back then. It's a current body that's been murdered, and that's kind of where it kicks off. There are ghosts in this. But they're friendly ghosts, not creepy. I will say it was a little bit creepy, but for me, it really was more mysterious than creepy, and I just really enjoyed it. I liked the Key West setting. It was so much fun. I gave it 4.5 stars, so definitely go check that one out. Next one I read this month was All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I also listened to that one on audiobook, so I don't have it either. But that one I talked about with Lisa and Jen and the Happily Ever Afters book club, so definitely go over to Jen's channel. I'll link it down below, and check out her live show that we did because it was so much fun to talk about it. Colleen Hoover is an author that I used to read all of her releases. I've read almost all of her older stuff, but I haven't kept up and read some of the newer stuff. So I was a little bit hesitant going in, especially because I kind of knew some of the subject matter, and it made me a little nervous. I will say there were some things that were just so emotionally draining in this book that at times I felt like I didn't know how to rate it, because even though the writing was fantastic and I really, really enjoyed the characters and the storyline, and overall I think I ended up giving it a 4-star, it was I was sobbing. Do not read this book in public, and have your tissues ready, because it was just, honestly can say, one of the most emotional books. It has to do with just a relationship problems with infertility, and I'm not a parent, and I'm also not married, but those things, even though I don't have them in my personal life, were just so gut-wrenching to read about. But also I just thought the ending was great. So I don't want to say too much about this because I feel like it kind of is good to go in blind, but I really do recommend All Your Perfects. The next one I read is another one that's going to be in the Read Bliss video that is coming up, and that one is Carla Neggers, Imposter's Lure. This one was really different. So this is also a series, and the only thing that I didn't like about it, which I really liked it, I gave it 4 stars, was that I felt like I might have gotten more out of it if I had read the rest of the series, just for like character development storyline. But basically this follows our couple who is, I believe she's in the FBI, or maybe they both are. I think they both are. It's been a little bit since I've read this. And then basically it has to do with art thieves, and like basically detectives that work at finding art thieves. And I thought that was really interesting, and I never read anything like that. There's kind of like a dual storyline going on, where like part of it's going on in like England and part of it's going on in the States, and they kind of like mesh together. I really am interested in going back and reading a little bit more in this series, because I really liked the characters and I liked the kind of setting, and I liked that it was about something different. Like it wasn't, there was murder in it, but it also had to do with something different, which is like, you know, stealing of art. So I thought that was cool. So definitely check this out if you're a mystery fan. And the last 2 books I read were The Beautiful Ashes by Jeaniene Frost and The Sweetest Burn by Jeaniene Frost. So I'm mostly going to talk about this one because obviously the other one's the second in a series, but this is part of her Broken Destiny series, and I read this one a few years ago and I loved it, but I just never continued on with the series. Does anyone else do that and then kick themselves for it? Because I just remember really, really enjoying this. But I think it was like a few years between book 1 and book 2, and I just kind of never picked it up. But I have now, and I definitely plan on picking up book 3 very soon. So this was so much fun. So Jeaniene Frost is very well known in like the paranormal romance world, and this one isn't, from what I know, her best known series. I think that one's like her Halfway to the Grave series, which I do want to pick up because I just really enjoy her writing. But this one follows Ivy, who basically has always grown up thinking she's kind of crazy because she can see things that no one else can see. And you find out like what that is. And it starts off with her looking for her sister who's disappeared in this, and she goes to this like B&B to look for her, and basically gets like kind of like taken captive by this man, and then someone else comes to save her, and his name is Adrian, and he's our other main character. Adrian basically has had a very interesting backstory and kind of upbringing, and this book has to do with like demons and angels, and that's just one of my favorite things to read about in paranormal romance or paranormal in general. I love a good witch book too, but I think that when you have like angels and demons, the like mythology kind of behind it is really interesting, and this one was not any different. It was very interesting. I liked it a lot. And the kind of snarkiness of Adrian and the like witty banter between Adrian and Ivy was perfect. It's exactly what I always look for in this kind of series. And it was just a lot of fun to read. I just had a lot of fun. I definitely want to, it's only a trilogy. So this one, the second one, and then there's one more book, and it's all out. So you don't have to worry about more books to come. So I highly recommend this if you haven't read this series from her, or if you've read one of her other series. I definitely really, really liked this one. Okay guys, so those are all the books that I read for the second half of the month. Let me know what you've been reading. Have you read any of these? What did you think about them? Have you watched All the Boys I've Loved before and loved it or not? Let me know if you didn't like it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.